When done right, a side quest can be every bit as good or even better than the main story. Games like The Witcher 3 and the Mass Effect series have some great examples of side quests done right, where you feel like you're actually doing something of importance. Alas, that's not to be for every game. Whether they took absolutely ages, had no particular decent reward attached to them, or were just an exercise in frustration, there's so many tedious side quests to be found in games from practically every genre. If you've ever encountered any of these yourself, we feel sorry for you, and we've been through it too. I'm Jess from WhatCulture, and here are 10 video game side missions that let everyone down. Number 10. Following the Korok, Breath of the Wild. There's so much to see and do when playing Breath of the Wild, but if we're being honest, the side quests really did let it down. Most of them have negligible rewards and are glorified fetch quests. The exception to the rule is the shrine quests, which generally involve you doing something a bit different to unlock a shrine, like strategically placing a metal object on top of a suspicious mound so it's struck by lightning, revealing a shrine. However, there's one shrine quest which is just the absolute worst. We're talking about the one in the Korok Forest, where Link is tasked with stealthily following a tiny Korok through the woods without being seen. There's so much to hate about this mission. First of all, the Korok in question is tiny and routinely runs off through really tall grass. Secondly, the stealth in Breath of the Wild just isn't that good. Thirdly, the Korok will seemingly randomly turn around for no reason and spot you when you thought you were safe. What happens generally here is you'll end up doing the exact same mission over 10 times, each time thinking this would be so much easier if you could just chuck a remote bomb at the Korok and remove him from existence. Number 9. Preston and his endless settlement assistance missions. Fallout 4. You know your side quests are bad when they're so bad you become a meme for giving them out. If you're the type of person who likes to tick off all your side quests one by one and see a nice clean UI with everything completed, and I'm one of these people, boy oh boy are you gonna hate Fallout 4's Preston Garvey. The man is absolutely obsessed with giving you the same side quests. Once you've cleared out a few settlements and established them across the wasteland, Preston will be available to give you new settlement-themed quests which involve generally assisting them with some monster problems. That's fine, but every single time you complete one, Preston will be there, ready to tell you about another settlement that needs your assistance. It's not uncommon for this mission to be pretty much exactly the same as the last one you did, and it can, and often will be, at the same settlement where you just offered your assistance. Upon Fallout 4's release, Preston's relentless, undying obsession with settlement side questing was universally mocked, with Preston becoming Fallout 4's equivalent of Skyrim's arrow to the knee meme. Somewhere out there's probably some poor soul still playing Fallout 4 trying to finish all of Preston's side quests. Number 8. Dodging lightning strikes, Final Fantasy X. Hey, want to fully upgrade your character's ultimate weapons, aka celestial weapons, on Final Fantasy X? You're gonna need to work for it. While most of the quests involving finding the sigils and crests needed to power up the celestial weapons are easily achievable, there's a few which are just such a pain in the backside. The worst of the lot is for Lulu's Venus Sigil. To get this, you need to travel to the Thunder Plains and dodge 200 lightning strikes in a row. Not only does this take absolutely ages to do, but if your timing is off by even a split second, you'll be hit by the lightning and have to start the whole thing over again. Special bonus shout out here to the other painful side mission that involves getting a time of 000 in the Chocobo race for Titus's Sun Sigil as well. Number 7. Shameless product placement, Final Fantasy 15. When not driving around in their swanky car or slaying monsters, there's nothing more than the crew of Final Fantasy 15 likes to do than stop off for some food. Indeed, the food of Final Fantasy 15 is so lovingly rendered in such painstaking detail, it makes you pretty sad you can't eat it yourself. There is, however, one foodstuff we could have done without, and that's cup noodles. In what has to be one of the most bizarre product placement crossovers in history, there's a substantial side quest completely themed around the popular noodle snack. Here's an actual quote from the game when you're on the side quest. "There's nothing else like them. They're easy to make whenever you've got a craving, and they're delicious to boot. I'll never forget my first time." The cringe is strong with this one. The rest of the quest, which involves finding the perfect ingredients for your cup noodle, is just so awful and out of place. As an added bonus for all lovers of cup noodles and Final Fantasy, Square Enix also added a spiffy cup noodle themed hat for Noctis as free DLC after the game's release. Thanks, Square Enix. Number 6. Big Orion Sword, Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Admittedly, getting the Big Orion Sword on Ocarina of Time is probably worth your time and effort. It's actually stronger than the Master Sword. That, however, doesn't mean that actually getting the thing is enjoyable. To get the big Orion Sword, you're going to be going on a whistle-stop tour of Hyrule as you trade items back and forth between different characters. The Zelda series is not ashamed of the long and drawn-out side quest, but this one really does take the cake. It all begins with a pocket egg found in Kakariko Village. From there, the tasks ahead of you will have you traipsing literally from one side of Hyrule to the other, multiple times, often with ridiculous timescales involved. You'll be trading a series of items between people ranging from an eyeball frog to make eye drops to a poacher's saw which you'll give to a carpenter. Your final step is to give the eye drops to the giant Goron Bigoron, who's having irritated eyes because of a nearby eruption from a volcano. After this massive series of steps where you'll likely get to know every inch of Hyrule, Big Orion Sword can finally be yours. Number 5. Trouble with the Trolley, eh? Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage. Hands up who wanted to punch that bird in the face every damn time he said, "Trouble with the trolley, eh?" after you failed this mission for seemingly the 50th time. If you played Spyro 2 before and went after all the collectibles, you'll have encountered this truly god-awful mission. During this, Spyro was placed on a bizarre track on a rubbish wooden trolley with a cannon and tasked with collecting 50 gears. The whole thing controls terribly. The jumping's weird, you're required to switch from side to side on the track, and there's plenty of sections where there's insta-death moments and you have to do the whole thing over again. If you fail, you'll just have to listen to "Trouble with the Trolley, eh?" loads more times until you just want to stop and cry in a corner somewhere. In the Spyro Reignited trilogy, developers Toys for Bob knew exactly how much everyone hated the Trouble with the Trolley mission, so they even put a cheeky trophy and achievement in it called Trouble No More, which is a direct reference to the memes and ways gamers felt about the whole thing. Number 4. Delicate Flower, Hollow Knight. Hey, take this flower with you, will ya? Take it down into the very depths of the land and make sure you don't get touched or anything on the way, it's real delicate. Ready for an exercise in frustration? Well then try out Hollow Knight's hidden Delicate Flower mission. In this, you literally have to take a flower from the top of the map to near the bottom without warping, without using rest benches, and without getting hit even once. It requires an intricate knowledge of Hollow Knight's world and how to avoid and attack enemies without being hit. It's an incredibly frustrating mission altogether, one that will definitely make you either give up in frustration or persevere until you're the best Hollow Knight player in all the land. You'd think at the end of such a difficult mission, there'd be a great reward waiting for you, right? No! Your reward for this one is simply a Mask Shard, which you need 3 of in order to increase your health by 1, and a trophy/achievement showing what you've done. That said, basically the entirety of Hollow Knight apart from this bit is absolutely superb, so we're gonna let them off for this one. Number 3, getting a job, Fable 2. What's everyone's favorite thing to do? Why, it's working, of course. Peter Molyneux knows this, and that's exactly why he made sure he sapped most of the fun out of Fable 2 by making earning gold as tedious as possible. How did he achieve this feat? Well, he added a selection of monotonous minigames to Fable 2, which tasked you with completing mundane tasks like making pies or banging a hammer repeatedly onto a piece of metal as a blacksmith. To get anywhere in Fable 2 by buying property and the like, you need to do these side minigames for hours on end. It's tedious, it's boring, and it ultimately makes everything pretty much grind to a halt in a really cool fantasy game. I can only assume he was going for some kind of simulation of real life with it, but every time we think back to those hours we wasted pressing A to strike down on our bits of metal, it just makes us angry. Can we just go loot some treasure chests? Please, no more pies, we beg you. Number 2, Hush Side Quest, Batman Arkham Knight. Many people were looking forward to Arkham Knight finally delivering on the Hush storyline that it had been slowly building up through the previous games. First teased in Arkham Asylum through a riddle, Hush made an appearance in Arkham City as a mysterious person who looked just like Bruce Wayne and was committing a string of brutal murders. After tracking him down, it ended with Batman vowing to track down Hush another day, setting up for a potential big confrontation in Arkham Knight. But what did we get? Well, we got a completely throwaway section where Bruce Wayne visits Wayne Tower. This, of course, is Hush. Batman arrives at the tower, takes Hush down in pretty much one move by slamming him through a desk, and that's pretty much it. For a character who's been involved in some significant Batman story arcs, and for all the build-up Rocksteady did in the previous game, this was super disappointing. Where was the epic boss fight? Where was a creepy lair for Hush? Where was anything of substance? Come on, Rocksteady, you're better than this. Number 1, side questing to unlock the ending, Metal Gear Solid 5. This one is so bad because of how massive a slap in the face it is to everyone who is excited to play Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. MGS5 is a really good game throughout for the most part. It evolves the MGS formula in significant ways, gives you loads of cool toys to play with, and has some cool missions. Unfortunately, this all stops completely after you get about 80% of the way through the game. Instead of wrapping up the story neatly, Metal Gear Solid 5 suddenly presents you with a complete rehash of a load of side missions that you've probably already done earlier. They're slightly harder than they were before, but you need to actually do them before the game's final mission, which is, again, just a repeat of an earlier mission. When you were first playing it, it was the weirdest thing. Since release, we've found out that a massive spat between game director Hideo Kojima and publisher Konami forced the game to remain unfinished. This in turn was the reason why we got all this bizarre side questing nonsense at the end. It's hard not to feel incredibly let down by the whole thing, particularly for lovers of the MGS series, which is known for its sprawling, ridiculous storylines. That's the end of our list, but let me know down in that comment box which video game side mission massively let you down. As always, I've been Jess from WhatCulture. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you like, you can come say hi to me on my Twitter account where I'm @JessMcDonnell, but make sure you stay tuned to us here for plenty more great gaming lists.